Good afternoon, Husky Pups. Here is Miss Batone with your daily read aloud. Today, our story is Wangari's Trees of Peace, a true story from Africa. And I just want to remind you, our target ELA standard this week is character and setting and how they relate. Our story takes place in Kenya, Africa. I love teaching about Africa, and Kenya is one of my favorite countries. Up here, we have a map of Kenya. We see its neighboring countries. The Indian Ocean borders it as well. Kenya is known for its reserves, and that's why I love doing Kenya, because we get to learn about all of the different animals. On the continent of Africa, that is where we are heading today. So here is our book, Wangari's Trees of Peace. I put a little Africa shirt on today, and I got my little giraffe here because I love learning about Kenya. So that's where we're going to start off today. Wangari lives under an umbrella of green trees in the shadow of Mount Kenya in Africa. She watches the birds in the forest where she and her mother go to gather firewood for cooking. And she helps harvest the sweet potato, sugarcane, and maize from the rich soil. Wangari shines in school, and when she grows tall like the trees in the forest, she wins a scholarship to study in America. So Wangari is our main character. She's from Kenya, but she went to study in America because she worked super hard in school. 6 years later, her studies are over. Wangari returns to her Kenya home and sees a change. What has happened, she wonders. Where are the trees? Wangari sees women bent from hauling firewood miles and miles from home. She sees barren land where no crops grow. And where are the birds? So when she returns to Kenya, the trees have all been cut down. Watching the seedlings take root gives Wangari the idea to plant more. To start a farm for baby trees, a nursery. In an open space, she plants row after row of the tiny trees. Next, Wangari convinces the village woman that planting trees is a good thing. She gives each one a seedling. Our lives will be better when we have trees again. You'll see, we are planting the seeds of hope. So, third grade, who does this remind you of? Isatou and the woman of Wangari. The woman spread out over the village, planting tiny trees in long rows, like a green belt stretching over the land. So just like the women of Gambia, they're working hard. The government men laugh. Women can't do this, they say. It takes trained foresters to plant trees. The women ignore the laughter and keep planting. Just like in the other story, guys, they ignored the laughter and they continued to work hard. Those are all good character traits, hardworking, never giving up. Wangari pays them a small amount for each seedling still living after 3 months, their first earnings ever. So they're planting trees to bring back the forest of Kenya. Word travels like wind rustling through leaves about the green returning to Wangari's village. Soon other women in other villages and towns and cities in Kenya are planting long rows of seedlings too. So everyone has heard about Wangari, and they want to make Kenya greener again. But the cutting continues. Wangari stands as tall as an oak to protect the old trees still remaining. We need a park more than we need an office tower. So Wangari stands up to the men who are cutting down the trees. She fights for those trees. But Wangari is not alone. Talk of the trees spreads all over Africa, like ripples in Lake Victoria. More women hear the talk and plant even more seedlings in longer and longer rows. The seedlings take root and grow tall until there are over 30 million trees where there were once none. Wow, can you imagine that? The umbrella of green in Kenya returns. Women walk tall, their backs straight, for now they can gather firewood closer to home. So as you can see, the trees are growing. Kenya is looking more beautiful. The land is no longer barren. Sweet potato, sugarcane, and maize grow again in the rich red earth. The whole world hears of Wangari's trees and of her army of women who planted them. This is one of my favorite pictures. It shows the trees on the outline of Africa, and she's right in the middle. This would be a cool page to do a character web. And if you were to climb to the very top of Mount Kenya today, you would see the millions of trees growing below you, and the green of Wangari brought back to Africa. Wangari started the Green Belt movement in Kenya in 1977 on World Environment Day by planting 9 seedlings in her backyard. She was responding to the growing deforestation of her homeland. She saw many changes in daily life, especially among rural women. Some of these changes were lack of firewood, poor soil, erosion, and lack of clean drinking water, just like our last story. The desert was creeping closer and on the fields where the crops and trees once flourished. By 2004, 30 million trees had been planted, 6,000 nurseries existed in Kenya, the income of 80,000 people had been increased, and the movement had spread to 30 African countries and beyond. So wow, there are a lot of books written about her. This is one of them. I also have Seeds of Change. This is another story written for her. So now I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. And today we're going to talk about Wangari. Wangari is the main character. Where is the setting? The setting is in Kenya, Africa. How do the actions of the character connect to the setting? The trees are disappearing in Kenya. They are being cut down. Wangari starts to plant new trees. What you're going to do today, 3rd grade, is you're going to compare and contrast 2 characters from 2 books that you've read this week. I thought this was a perfect activity to do today because I'm going to compare Wangari and Isatou. Wangari and Isatou are alike because they both are from Africa. They both care about their villages and the environment. They both stand up for what they believe in. These women were huge environmental leaders in Africa, and then their stories have been told around the world. And they both created women's groups to help plant seeds and make the recycled purses. They are different. Wangari is from Kenya and Isatou is from Gambia. Wangari plants trees and Isatou makes recycled plastic purses.
Mountain range in Kenya was green, fertile, and abundant with shrubs, creepers, ferns, and trees like the Nile tulip tree, East African cordia, and one of the most beautiful trees in the land, the broad-leaved croton. The rains were regular and reliable. The rivers provided plenty of clean water for everybody. The land supported good yields of maize, beans, and vegetables for the people who lived there. Hunger was virtually unknown to most people. Unfortunately, this has changed drastically. Much of the original forest cover and other growth in the 5 forested mountains, namely Mount Kenya, the Aberdares, the Mount Complex, Mount Elgon, and the Cheragani Hills, has been destroyed. Drivers of deforestation have been logging, agricultural cultivation, and human settlements. In this historical imagery, you can see what the Mau Forest Complex used to look like in the past. All Kenyans depend on these 5 mountains for their survival. 90% of their water and 70% of their electricity is produced from the rivers that flow from here. The degradation of the natural environment and the lack of water were the key issues women mentioned to me that motivated me to start the Greenbelt movement. I realized the link between what their needs were and the state of the land and thought, why not plant trees to address these issues?
More than 600 community groups across Kenya care for 4,000 tree nurseries that produce seedlings for planting. In the Gakanga area alone, local people have planted over 1 million trees in the past 2 years. Deforestation projects such as Gakanga and other sites shown here allow the communities to mitigate the threats associated with climate change. So far, more than 40 million trees have been planted in private farms, public lands, protected reserves, and sites of cultural significance, and even in the urban areas. In less than 2 decades, these saplings in Gakanga will be full-grown trees, adding to the 40 million trees that were planted earlier. This will contribute to the health of the ecosystems and will benefit the entire region.
It's very important for us all to realize that the environment is not just an issue for tomorrow, it's an issue for every day. It's the air we breathe, it's the water we drink, it's the food we eat. And we can't live without these things. So we have to protect and restore the ecosystems with the communities to ensure a healthy future for our children.
So 3rd grade, a little facts on the green movement that Wangari started. So today I compared Isatou and Wangari and how they were alike and different. So tonight you're going to do the same thing. Pick 2 characters, 2 different books, and compare and contrast them. Have fun.